Thanks for tuning in to our NASCAR post qualifying edition here on Proline TV. I'm your host, Greg DePalma, and let's get right to it. So, no practice, but what we do have is a couple of qualifying sessions, not your standard week. And next week is road course. It's still kind of the same thing. So, I get it. These qualifying reports are not the most sexiest right now to start the season, but hey, there is important data to be found. So let's get right to it for the Ambetter Health 400. And looky here, look what we got here. Let me see. Do I have to blow this up anymore? Oh, it's already blown up. No, let's not do that. That makes things a little silly. Okay, so here we go. Look at this. Ford. Oh, there's another Ford. Wait a second, we got a Chevy. Ford. Look, another Ford, and a Ford, and a Ford. Holy Ford. That's right. Wow. We knew Fords kicked ass on super speedways, but this is amazing. 10 of the first 11 in qualifying were Fords. So the final 10 raced it off. 9 Fords against 1 Chevy. I wonder who won. Or what won. Let's go further down. Hey, we got another Chevy. And another Chevy. But where's the Toyotas? There's a Toyota. Bubba representing all of Toyota land, starting in 14th place. Okay. No Toyota. Meaning there's only one Toyota in the top 17. Now, why is this not surprising? Because if you watched our show earlier this week, you know, our regular preview video that I do with CJ, you know that Toyota has not won at Atlanta Motor Speedway, not only with the new configuration, which changed in 2022, but they have not won at Atlanta since 2013. So, you know, if you're a member of Toyota, at this point, you're just like, let's just forget it. Let's just get this over with, basically. So, yeah, Toyota, no. CJ and I had our picks this week, 6 total, 3 for CJ, 3 for me. There were no Toyotas. I don't think we regret that at this point. So that is the big story, of course. And you can look further down here. And now here's all the Toyotas and Chevys. Here they are. Imagine, though, if you're driving a Ford like Cole Custer or Cody Ware or Corey LaJoy. Corey LaJoy, a sleeper pick this week. And, you know, deservedly so. This is LaJoy's best track. And how embarrassing it must be to qualify 35th when all of your other buddies, your Ford buddies, are just kicking ass. Look at Denny Hamlin. Like, right up there. If you're talking about the best super speedway drivers, okay, if there's a top 3, Denny Hamlin's in it. In my mind, it's Hamlin, Logano, and Blaney. And you could actually decide who you want first in that mix. Okay, completely up to you. And I'd be okay with it. And yet, Denny Hamlin sits here starting 37th. Is that a surprise? Of course it's not. Why is that not a surprise? Because if you take a look at Denny Hamlin's record amongst all the other Toyotas, of course, he has 1 measly top 10 in 6 appearances. He's led only 22 laps in those 6. And last year, he finished 23rd and 24th. The first Toyota, and by the way, he was the first odds wise. So he had like the morning line odds favorite for Toyotas at 15-1. But you know what's also a little bit interesting is that Daniel Suarez, and now again, the Chevys need respect here because they've won 4 out of the 6 races at Atlanta since 2022. Okay, so Ford's not winning all these races. As a matter of fact, you take a look at it, Chevy's won the last 2 Daytona 500s. Chevy has actually been winning more super speedway races than Ford, even though Ford is the number one when it comes to laps led and a lot of other stats. So Chevy is right up there right now with Ford. Okay, even though we know Ford is still the better of the two, but Chevy's up there because they're winning races. And that's really what's important, right? Does it matter who's wrecking? If you got all those Fords wrecking and a Chevy just happens to come puttering down the outside. Hey, I'm still okay. So yeah, that's the way it is. But look, Chevy does deserve it. Matter of fact, I think we both had a Chevy in there this week in our picks. I had Bowman, and CJ had both Suarez and McDowell doubling down on Chevys. Of course, we don't have the odds yet. They don't usually come out until later on today, maybe even tomorrow morning. I do believe that Blaney's odds, I think he was 8-1. Where was he when we did the show? He was 8-1. Logano was 9-1, and Cindric was 11-1. And look, there you go. Blaney, Cindric, Logano. So, look, I know Josh Berry is third, but Josh Berry has not done anything on super speedways. So if he were to do something this week, he would be the first. So can we find out anything different though regarding strategy to wager based on what we see here, other than Ford kicked ass? Well, let's look into that. How will Todd Gilliland's odds drop? I think considerably. Remember, he was 40-1. He was my top long shot pick the other day. I think you might see his odds cut in half, because don't forget, that's where it was for the 500, which really didn't make any sense to me. And now I think you're going to go back down to that level, with the Ford and top five and all that. I think Kyle needs to get consideration, but he was already the top Chevy, and really the only the only one out of Blaney and Logano as far as the history in Hamlin. If you want to take a look at who would you consider the best out of that top three of super speedway drivers, I might put Kyle in that next group. But again, you have to see. Kyle is a good super speedway driver, but he doesn't have a ton of wins. He's won before, but you would think that he would be a little luckier and have just a few more wins, maybe even a 500 win. Just hasn't happened for Kyle. But we talked about this the other day, and here's the example of Toyota versus Chevy. It's perfect with Kyle. So Kyle, of course, remember a few years ago was with Toyota. So 2022 is with Toyota. He drives Atlanta. He does not finish in the top 10. Okay, not good. Then he moves over to Chevy, 2023, 2024. The last four races with Chevy, all in the top 10. Okay. Matter of fact, last year he led 28 laps and 24 laps in the Chevy, finishing third and seventh. So Kyle will also be a driver that might see his odds bump up a little bit. Super speedway, though, I don't think you're going to see these odds be dramatically shifting, but you never know. Because again, you're looking at Blaney's odds started at 8-1. I would not be surprised to see that number drop. And if Blaney's odds move up, I think so does everybody else's. Meanwhile, Logano, Cindric, Kyle, and a few of these others. Buescher, you would think Buescher and Keselowski, who, by the way, is Kevin Rogers' top pick this week. Let's see. We had Keselowski. Let's see. Where did we have him? He had him at 17-1. And we had him at 15-1. So I believe Keselowski's odds will drop as well. And Buescher. They're 17-20-1 range, 15-20-1 range. They should drop a little bit. Not a major amount, though. They were on the back end of that top five there. Let's see. Gregson, who I think is a good, I believe, is a good super speedway driver, has not had success here, though, in Atlanta for whatever reason. Maybe this is a good start for him this week. So I'm sure he hopes so. I would believe so. He was 70-1. His odds are going to drop, and they still will drop, though, in a reasonable area. So I'd take a look at Gregson a little bit. I really would. And remember this. The other thing we talked about, Atlanta, unlike Daytona, even though we've had Byron win the last 2 years, Atlanta does not have these long shot winners like we've had at Daytona. All of the winners at Atlanta since 2022 have been your typical top drivers. So that's something you have to consider. Is super speedway, yes, but I would look more at Talladega and Daytona for the really big long shots than I would look at Atlanta. Again, size of the track, I think, definitely has something to do with it. But anyway, I don't know how far I would go down based on these numbers. All I know is that, once again, forget about just wasting your money on Toyota. If a Toyota wins, it's probably because there's a major wrecks in the last 5 laps of the race. And some Toyotas, like Bubba Wallace, is left there standing like William Byron last week. That's it. Matter of fact, that's the only way Kyle Larson's going to win a race as well. Where was his odds? I don't know where they are now. Remember the other day, they were still sitting at a ridiculous 18-1 when they should be more like 30-1 or 40-1. I mean, Kyle Larson has done absolutely nothing. Zero zitch, zinc, zero, nothing on super speedways. He's got a couple of top fives maybe, and that's about it. You could see him hanging around with 20 or 30 laps to go in the top 10 in some of these races, but it's all said and done. He doesn't finish. He's just not capable. I'm sorry. And I will tell you, I do believe that is one of the reasons in my mind that when everybody wants to talk about greatest driver of our time, I know it all depends on what you're talking about of our time. If you're saying today, yeah, okay, I don't care that he's not a really good super speedway driver. He's that good. But when you're talking maybe generationally, I think this holds him back a little bit. I just do. I mean, I think if you're going to be great, and look, yes, you can say anything you want about all the other series that he's good in. That's a different conversation. But if we're just talking about NASCAR, this is definitely something that will definitely hold him back when you're having one of those big conversations about generational talents. Now, maybe one of these years he'll figure it out, but until he does, he does not deserve, unless you're a fan of his, he does not deserve you wasting any money at all on Kyle Larson. Matter of fact, Kevin had a really good head-to-head matchup on his video, which I'll have a link in the description for. Matter of fact, CJ's talking about it in his RotoWire report, which we will also have a link that you could check out in the description for his report this week regarding Daniel Suarez being a very small favorite over Kyle Larson head-to-head. Now, Suarez is starting way back. So what does that do? Well, maybe not so good. Now, again, this is head-to-head, so he doesn't have to win. And Larson is starting, what is he starting? Larson is starting 17th. Suarez is starting 29th. Not that big of a difference, so I wouldn't panic too much if I've already placed that bet with Suarez. And if you haven't, then maybe you're getting a better number today, Suarez versus Larson, and I'd take that advantage. I would. I'd go, okay, maybe Larson's favored now. I don't think that's the case, but you never know. All right, so if you look at I don't have that number here. Okay, no, I thought it did. All right, so let's take a look at a couple of others that we talked about the other day that you might want to watch that are in reasonable shape here. Again, Bauman's one of my picks. I think AJ's definitely, look, that's not a bad spot for AJ. You're getting good odds on AJ. AJ has proven that he can race really well at these super speedways, both in Cup and Xfinity. He was 50-1 the other day. I'm not sure that those odds are going to change very much. So I'd be pretty happy with that 12th place starting position. And you've got the Chevys here, like Elliott. Where do we have? There's Byron right there. And all this can do is just give them, especially with all the Fords dominating, you're just going to end up with better odds if you want to go that route. I mean, Christopher Bell, not so good. Ross Chastain, along with his teammate Suarez, not so good. So Suarez starts 29th. We'll close with this. The line, and it's only been 6 races, but the line we have to draw through as far as how far back can we go for a winner since 2022, we're going to go right here. Okay? So we have never seen a winner outside the top 23 since 2022. That's a limited amount of races, though, only 6. And since you do have a 12th and 18th and a 23rd winner starting position in just a limited amount of time, I think that's a positive if you're looking for reasons to wager on someone outside the top 23, because that means that, yeah, it'll happen. It'll happen eventually. It could happen anytime now. But right, historically, as we speak, if you're outside this level here, you're in trouble. That includes Michael McDowell. I mean, he's a really solid long shot. He's one of CJ's, and this is going to help his odds too. And I don't think, again, it should affect you where you go with him. He was 40-1. Now, last year, he was on the pole. And as a matter of fact, two of the last three races, he was on the pole at Atlanta, and he led a good number of laps. And in three of those, and in the last three races, he's finished in the top 10 twice with one top 5. So he's been good here. Matter of fact, interesting, his best finish in the last three races is 4th. It's also his worst starting position, 20th. All right. So even though he had those poles, he finished 8th and 22nd. So Blaney is speaking of poles, is trying to become the 3rd pole winner in 7 races to win since 2022. And unlike the Daytona 500, that I think should mean a little bit more, especially considering the dominance of these Fords and Blaney, Cindric, and so on. So Cindric was my top pick on Wednesday. CJ's top pick was Blaney. And hopefully, based on what we see here, we are headed towards a potentially good outcome. Look, I don't think we're going to get the craziness of the 500 because that's Daytona. Definitely different. Like I said, the size of the track and all. So I doubt that's what's going to happen. And that usually is better for the better drivers. So, hope you got your odds locked in. I don't know how low I would go with Blaney. I think that anything under 6-1, I'd be hesitant with. I hope I can still get 7 to 8-1. I still think that's a fair number on a super speedway, but I don't know. It's going to be tough. Cindric, on the other hand, I think you still got some wiggle room because he was 11. So I don't think he's going to drop too much further down to 9 or 8 possible. Maybe you're still going to get 10 or 11. And then Logano was also going to get somewhere around the same number he got a few days ago, 9-1. Maybe he drops just a tidbit. But there you go. That's going to do it for our Atlanta coverage. As far as post-qualifying, no practice. Next week, road course racing. So, once again, I'm not sure exactly how it's going to be all that, as far as the drama concerned, except for the fact that you do understand, and everybody understands that it's like it's a complete 180 in importance between qualifying at a super speedway or qualifying at a road course. So we know that. So when I talk next week and we sit here and we go over pole position for the race, this is going to be a lot more important to find out who looked good in qualifying. And I'm guessing practice, but we'll see. I don't know. I never know what they're doing anymore. Used to be just the old days several years ago where you could always count on qualifying and, it was how many practice sessions? Sometimes you'd get 3. Now we're not getting any on some weeks. So thanks for tuning in. We'll hope to have a much better outcome on the show when we talk about it for the first few minutes on Wednesday with CJ Radoon. You can also check out Kevin's reports that come out every Friday. He's going to get into head-to-heads and things of that nature. And then, of course, I'm here to talk about post-qualifying that come out after qualifying and practice, mostly every Saturday. So enjoy the race, everybody. Best of luck. If you have any questions, comments, just leave them, obviously, in the comments section. I'll get back to you. I'll let you come up with whatever is on your mind, and we'll maybe even talk about it on the show. It's also appreciated to kind of get the ball rolling in the community. We really appreciate that. All of that really helps to support the channel and the show. Let us know what's on your mind, and please subscribe if you haven't subscribed before, because we've got to get those subscribers up Also very important to support the channel. So we're out of here. Remember, links in the description. Check that out. Very important if you want to follow more of our analysts. CJ's got his report from RotoWire. And Kevin, of course, did his video a few days ago, actually yesterday, if you want to check that out. Or if you haven't seen our show from Wednesday, that's in the description as well. Enjoy the race tomorrow, everybody, and we'll see you next week.